All right, welcome back to another Ask the Expert segment. We are excited to have you back. I'm Adam Walker from the mortgage business, along with Justin Chose, my friend in the mortgage business as well. We have a great guest on today. We've got Stephen from Farm Lending Canada. So Farm Lending Canada is a great lender that we work with. They're very helpful on a lot of the rural residential stuff, hobby farms, even get into some commercial operations. We're going to go through a lot of really cool stuff today. Stephen, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you very much, Justin. Thank you, Adam. I'm looking forward to it. I follow you guys on Instagram, so this is a bit exciting for me. You're rock stars to me right now.
We have rock stars, yeah.
You're you're the one watching our stuff then, right? The one person.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say just one person. So, you're watching some of the great stuff that you guys do and the content that you put out. I do have a dad joke, if you don't mind me throwing it in there to kind of kick off the podcast.
We always love it.
All right,
Always
awesome,
get down
awesome.
for a dad joke.
All right, all right. My daughter loves this one, or maybe not so much. But what did the one ghost say to the other ghost?
I don't know.
Do you believe in people?
I like it. I like it. That's a good one. I like it.
I will tell you, if your daughter is anything like my daughter, we like to believe that they love it, but they really don't.
No, so true, so true. Never truer words spoken, my friend.
But as long as I think that they like it, that's really all that matters, right? And we're entertained. Who cares? Who cares?
Hey, at the end of the day, with the way the world is, if you can get a little bit of a smile, whether it's corny or not, it's worth it.
Perfect. All right, today we are talking rural residential properties. So, a real niche that we've talked about this for the last couple of years that's really needed in this space. Especially on the hobby farms, the acreage farms. The properties. Everybody wants a piece of property out in the country, but not everybody has a way of getting that approved. And sometimes the banks don't love these properties. As soon as you say we've got acreage, they love to do it. Hey, we'll take the value of the house in 5 acres, the house in a couple acres. You've created a really cool space for this. So tell us a little bit about, when we're talking rural residential, tell us what you serve and how you help our clients.
Yeah, no, and to your point, it is a really unique niche for your clients, right? Your clients are coming to you relying on your expertise and what you do. And now we have a product that can fill in one of those gaps that may often come across your desk. And really, from a rural residential perspective, and where the client can take advantage of it, is really gaining more access to loan to value or equity, so to speak. Whether it be on a purchase or a refinance, when we look at a property, and to your point, Adam, the home in say 5 or 10, or maybe even if another lender stretches to 20 acres, we're gonna give value to the whole thing. So, quick example, a home on 80 acres with one outbuilding, we're going to give value to the home, the one outbuilding, as well as all 80 acres. So it actually allows the client to access more, put a little bit less down, so to speak, from a down payment perspective, and access more out of their property as far as value.
Excellent, excellent. And you said a key thing there too, outbuildings. Me and Justin, we both spend a lot of time with the banks. We work with a lot of lenders. They don't love outbuildings. And you see some outbuildings, and there's a lot of value in these outbuildings. We see some really, really nice places. They've got, the barn, they've got, maybe a shop in there, a bar up top. There's a lot of really cool things that go into some of these outbuildings. And when we're not getting value from them, sometimes they're as nice as some homes are.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's one of those things that, sometimes you'll see, you'll get a large acreage property who does have that barn that maybe they store their vintage cars in, or, maybe they put a heated floor in and they have that dream room of the golf simulator that we all want, when they have that out in their barn. So, yeah, we will give value to that. So, just elaborate on a little bit, if there's multiple outbuildings on the property, we will give value to the one that brings the most value to the client. So yeah, definitely it is something that clients can take advantage of. Obviously we look for them to be in good condition and all that kind of things, but yeah, definitely we will give value to it.
Now, when you talk about the amount of acres that we're looking for, does it make a difference on how many acres are workable?
No, it doesn't. A client can have, when it comes to a hobby farm or zoned agricultural only, it could be an agriculturally zoned property sitting on 60 acres. None of it is actually being farmed, but the highest and best use of the property has been deemed agricultural. We still look at those, and we'll look at those right up to, depending on where it's located, right up to 80% loan to value.
In terms of the income maybe coming off of that workable acres, if you've got 40 or 50 acres you're renting out, you got a farmer that's putting some soybeans in there, some corn in there. Are we able to use that income coming back towards the application to help offset some of the costs?
You absolutely can, and that's a great question. Because it really there's a line between what a hobby farm is, and then when we float into commercial agricultural. So on the hobby farm side, as long as that property is producing less than $20,000 a year in income, we will treat it as a hobby farm. What that means is we will run that under a residential program. The client can access better rates. They'll have the capability to access the GDS TDS guidelines, a little bit better of a financing opportunity for the client. If it's over that 20,000, then we have to look at it as a commercial agricultural property because the farming income is above that 20,000 mark.
Right on. Are there any farms or types of properties that you don't consider that someone would look at as a farm and something that's not kind of on your radar?
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, over the last probably 5, 6 years, cannabis has been probably taken up a lot in the news and is from a business side of things as well. That is one thing we don't look at our cannabis farms, our cannabis facilities. Also, equestrian. So we don't do any horse farms. Which is it's not a contradiction, but we will allow a client to have a couple of horses on a hobby farm, but we won't do, a 35 stable. They're boarding horses, they're breeding them, they're, maybe showing them or any type of equestrian facility. We don't do that. And then greenhouses we will look at, but we look at them at a reduced loan to value. If your clients do come to you with one of those, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We can look through it and see if it's something that we will entertain. But besides that, on the other flip side to your question, Justin, what we look at on the commercial agricultural side would be your cash crops. Adam, you had mentioned soybeans and fruit farms, things like that. We also look at cattle. So they may have cows, they may have pigs, they may, be on the cattle side of things. So those are the two real main ones that we look at. Some dairy farms as well we'll look at. But when it comes to that side of the business for us, your client's probably going to have a lot of questions. So we are also here to help walk through the process with you and your client.
Now, you kind of talked a little bit earlier there about underwriting, and when it comes to underwriting guidelines, especially on some of these rural res or any property that you're looking at, you guys underwrite a little bit different. Rather than finding a tight box that we're trying to fit you into, it's more of a common sense lending of is there a path to build out this property here?
Right, exactly. So it is a common sense approach, and maybe sometime that term gets overused in all industries. We have common sense chocolate bars today, which I never really understood that, but all chocolate makes sense to me. But yeah, so it's a common sense approach. We want to make sure that we're putting the client in a position where it's going to be beneficial to them, right? As well to us as a lender, obviously lending money out, especially on that commercial agricultural side. We want to keep farmers farming. That's our real mission. We want to make sure that we're providing a plan for the farmer that they're able to execute to maybe get back into that farm credit type of lending or the traditional bank agricultural lending. So we would be what you would consider an alternative to those institutions.
Right. So and then you're more talking on the commercial side, obviously, not the rural res or the hobby farms as the alternative more. But when you're talking that commercial operation, you said something that's important there is, get them back to the prime lending side, get them back to something a little bit bigger, get them back on track. Maybe we've got a farmer that we're transitioning, from father to kids, or we've had a couple tough years. We see that all the time. You never know what the weather's going to bring from year to year. You have that tough year that comes through. How have you helped some of those farmers, like I said, stay on their farm, keep their operation going, and sometimes even grow and prosper after?
Yeah, exactly. And great point. There's two great points you mentioned in there. The succession planning part of our business is huge, right? I think the stat is in and around, 97% of farms in Canada are family owned. So, as our population ages, there's going to be a need for succession planning to, what are we going to do with the farm? Is it going to the kids? Is it going to the grandkids? And what kind of plan needs to be put in place in order to make that transition smooth? So we definitely do that.
Just on that there, sir. What are you looking for, right? So if we've got dad that's looking to pass it down to, maybe a couple kids or maybe one kid, what are you looking for in that application, and how do you really help there?
Well, you're looking for a few things. I guess the main thing is, you want to make sure that in any type of succession planning, where the farm is being passed down to, there's capability there, right? That there's that whether it's the son or the granddaughter, grandson, that they have the ability to take it over and manage the farm to success. And even in saying that from a succession planning perspective, even on the other side, like be it an alternative to say farm credit and the traditional banks, that's our goal, right? The goal is the plan. We
Right.
put a plan together, we look at assets and liabilities. What do we need to do here to make sure that in a year, 2 years, that we can get you back to where you need to be? Because you're 100% right. There's down years, right? There's unfortunately, Mother Nature doesn't always cooperate with the way we want it to cooperate. And sometimes farmers need that access to capital and cash, and it's in their property. And we're here to be an alternative to those other lenders that they may not be able to qualify for or with.
You brought up a good point there. So, I mean, we get a lot of people that, want to buy a farm. So you had mentioned there, the capability or the history or their history of farming. That's something you'll take into consideration, right? It's just not anybody can buy a farm and become a farmer.
Yeah, you 100%. Yeah, it's not a matter of me, being an excellent soccer player and then all of a sudden, what? Hey, I'm gonna start farming soybeans just because it looks easy. The character and the experience are part of the process that we go through with people. So we definitely want to make sure that there's a skill set there to make it successful, because farming may, from the outside looking in, may look easy or may look doable, so to speak, but there's a lot to it.
If you think it looks easy, I'd like to see what you were doing before that.
Yeah, yeah. I might have phrased that incorrectly, but I was trying for effect.
Yeah. Well, you talk about those down years, and building the plan to get back. If a farm, if we have to take an insurance payout on a crop, do you take that, that income into consideration as well? How do you handle that kind of insurance payout that may have to happen? Because sometimes crop insurance does come into play to keep a farm going.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, when it comes to the moving parts and as far as getting a little more into the weeds, yeah, we take it all into consideration, right? It's definitely different than the rural res side where, it's more kind of fits in the box and we know where that goes. There's really a lot more from an assets, liabilities, balance sheet, what's happening to the operation currently. Do they have an accountant? Do they have an accountant firm? Do they have a manager? And things like insurance payouts and things like that are all part of the equation when it comes down to what we can put in place for the client.
Good stuff. Good stuff. No, I like it. Lots of great options there. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for jumping on today. Bad dad joke and all. We really do appreciate you. And, we love what you guys do for farmers. We love what you do for the rural communities. I know it's always a challenge trying to find those, hobby farms that fit within guidelines that the banks don't always love. So we absolutely love your products and everything that you have towards us. So if you are out there and you're listening to this podcast and you think, hey, I would love to, I'm looking at buying a hobby farm, but I've been told no by the bank, or you're looking at saving your farm, trying to transition, we've got options for you. Reach out to Justin or I. We'll connect you with Farm Lending Canada. We'll get you in the right product, and we will help you with that next stage of your life. So thanks again for jumping on today.
Awesome. I appreciate it, guys. Have a great weekend.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve.
Bye-bye.